This is the brand new iPhone 16e, and I'm breaking down 4 things I think you need to know before you buy this new iPhone model. Tech it before you wreck it. What's up, geeks? I'm Kirk. This one's kind of tough. The previous budget model was $420, and that made a lot of sense for a lot of people. At $600, does the 16e make sense? That's why I'm breaking down the 4 things I think you need to know. And if you stick around for number 1, I think that one's the most important, and I also think that's why this costs $600. But before I do that, I do want to show you what comes inside the box of the brand new budget iPhone 16e.
Here it is, brand new in the box, the iPhone 16e with a picture of the phone on the front. We've got the iPhone on the side. We've got the technical stuff on the back. And that's about it. Let's get this opened up. In true Apple unboxing fashion, there is the phone. Right when you take the lid off, we've got the white model of the iPhone 16e. I'll pull the tab. You can see this really cool white matte finish on the back. It also comes in black. I love that finish. And let me pull off the sticker on the front. There it is. Your moment of zen, the beautiful glass on the front of this iPhone 16e model. I'll set that aside. Inside the box, you also get a USB-C charging cable because, of course, all iPhones now use USB-C. We also have a little bit of documentation here. There's barely anything in here. Looks like a little technical legal jargon, as well as a card that says you no longer need a physical SIM. This phone only supports eSIM. Okay, so here is the phone. Let me hold down the power button and power this up. And as I do that, I'll give you a quick tour of the phone itself. On the bottom, you've got USB-C. Of course, the lightning connector is gone. It's all USB-C, as well as your speakers on the bottom. On the left, you've got volume up, volume down. You've got your magic button that can be reassigned to whatever you wish. You've got your power button on the other side, and then you've got your typical antenna breaks on the side and no other slots. There is no SIM card slot here. It's basically just those buttons. A simple Apple design, an iPhone design for the 16e. But now, 4 things I think you should know about the new iPhone.
So number 4 is MagSafe. You need to know that this iPhone model does not have a technology called MagSafe. Well, what is that? That's essentially a magnet that's built into the back of the iPhone model, and it's also a faster wireless charging technology. So with MagSafe, you get 25-watt charging. This does have wireless charging built into it, but the 16e is only going to wirelessly charge at 7.5 watts. That's a big difference when you compare it to 25 watts. Don't forget, you still have a USB-C port on the bottom. You can certainly use that to charge the phone much faster, but MagSafe might be a big deal. We've had MagSafe on iPhones since the iPhone 12. If you've been using that technology, they have wallets that attach to the back. They have batteries that attach to the back, all using that MagSafe magnet. If you're used to that and you care about that, this iPhone 16e is not going to have that feature, and that might be a deal breaker for some people. Number 3 is the display, and it's a nice display. First and foremost, it's a really nice display. It's basically the same exact screen that we had on the iPhone 14, so it's a couple of years old. It's a 6.1-inch Super Retina XDR OLED. It's got a 60 hertz refresh rate, not as fast as 120 hertz that I think a lot of phones have these days. So it's going to be a little bit of a slower screen, although I think most average viewers might not even notice that speed issue when it comes to the refresh rate. Again, it really is a nice display. It looks great. I think the most important thing to know is the notch. This has that notch in the top as opposed to a newer technology that Apple calls dynamic island. So what is that? Well, it's basically a hole where the camera is instead of a whole notch, and Apple does a really good job with Dynamic Island of hiding that hole and using it as a way to show you notifications. You can see sports scores, or for example, if you run a timer, it'll show the timer up there. This iPhone 16e does not have that feature, so if you run a timer on the 16e, for example, it'll show up as a normal notification when you swipe your finger down from the top, but it's not going to show up on the Dynamic Island because that feature doesn't exist. I don't think this is a deal breaker for most people, but if you're on a phone that supports it now, you may miss it on the 16e. If you've never used it, I don't think you'll know what you're missing. Number 2 is something I think you should know about, the camera on the back. Notice there's only one single camera on the back. That's much different than other iPhone models where you have 2 or 3 cameras. So what's the difference? What has changed? Well, with this phone, you still get a really nice 48 megapixel camera on the back. It has what they call a 2x telephoto zoom built into it as well. and at 48 megapixels, you're taking really good photos. On the front, you get a 12 megapixel camera. What you won't get compared to other iPhone models is an ultra-wide lens on the back or additional macro lenses or telephoto lenses that you might have on other phones. Is that a deal breaker? I don't think so. I mean, really, when you go into the camera, you're gonna see 1x and 2x. Those are your only zoom options. And you know, on another iPhone model with more cameras, you would have more options. But I just don't think most people, most average consumers, the target audience for this 16E model, are gonna care about that, because at the end of the day, it really takes great photos, and so much of what we're used to when it comes to good photos on our phone, especially on iPhones, is software magic. The tweaking, the color saturation, the HDR effects that are built into the software of the phone. And again, when you have a 48 megapixel sensor, it's not like this doesn't have a good camera. It really does. It's just not going to have as many camera options as the iPhone 16, the full-blown iPhone 16 model. Okay, so now number one, which I think is the most important thing you should know about the new iPhone 16e, and that is the inclusion of the A18 processor from Apple. So it's basically the same processor that you're going to find in all the other iPhone 16 models. It includes a 6-core CPU, a 16-core neural engine for the AI features, and then a 4-core GPU, the graphics processing unit. That's the only difference, because the other 16 models have a 5-core GPU. I don't think that's going to make much of a difference for most people. Maybe if you're playing really graphic-intensive games or using really graphic-intensive applications, but otherwise, most people, that's a minor issue. The fact that it includes the A18 processor is a big deal, because that means that you get all the Apple Intelligence features that you would get on the iPhone 16. That's a big deal, but I also think that's why this is $600. I don't think that Apple could sell this for $450 with all the Apple Intelligence features, with that processor, and not cannibalize sales of the full-blown iPhone 16, which starts at about $800. My guess is that they really wanted to put the Apple Intelligence features in this new phone. Doesn't make sense for them to release any phone without it, considering how important Apple Intelligence has become for them, for the industry. But at the same time, if they included that processor, I feel like they had to charge $600 just to avoid cannibalizing sales of the regular iPhone 16. Kind of a bummer for consumers, because I would love to see a $500 iPhone or a $450 iPhone. But at the same time, I understand why Apple Intelligence, or artificial intelligence for that matter, is so important for them to include in this new iPhone model. So there are some other small changes that I didn't mention. For example, that camera button with the touch controls, you're not going to get that on the iPhone 16e. But I want to know, what features matter to you, or is this the perfect phone at the perfect price for you? Comment below, and I read every single comment. I'll comment back on every single one. I love the conversations that happen after I post these videos, so I can't wait to see what you guys have to say. Plus, if you want to see more about those AI features on this phone and all the iPhone 16 models, I've created videos about Genmoji as well as the Image Playground app, how to use those, how they work. Check those videos out, and make sure you subscribe to the channel. I got a lot more cool geeky videos coming about Apple products, Android products, all kinds of cool stuff right here on the channel. Tech it before you wreck it. I'm Kirk.